Well, good morning. How are you doing, my friend?
Doing well. How about you, Derek?
Doing really good. I'm Derek Killam, our friend Mike Lunny, and I'm going to adjust this real quick. Mr. Lunny's put us both in the screen at the same time. I like that better,
I
so
do too.
it won't have to flip back and forth. But listen, we started back in January and February with a concept of a podcast. You kind of see it behind Mike there, called Ask Mike, and the idea is. Mike did this for a while, this band director thing. He spent a few years in the trenches. He's uh, if he's anything like me, and he can probably speak to this better, made enough mistakes that he knows what not to do anymore.
Yes, sir.
And so we've had this conversation, even in our conversations in the series before, that I just want to see band directors and our community, orchestra teachers, choir, whatever it is, fine arts. I want to see these programs succeed. And I want to see teachers fulfilled, feel purpose, but not feel like they're on an island. We've kind of had that conversation before that
Yes.
sometimes we hide because we don't want anybody to know what's going. What I think you put it this way once: we don't go to the doctor. What was your saying about? Um, I'm not.
We're
It
too
doesn't
sick
matter.
to we're too
That's it.
sick to go see the doctor.
So this is an effort to do our small part to remedy that. And I sure appreciate, Mr. Lunny, your time, your willingness, and in advance, I want to say I appreciate your knowledge and your willingness to share that knowledge. Because would you agree that's kind of what this is all about?
It is, and I feel like I'm just kind of paying it forward for my
Yeah.
years of the Warren Thaxtons and the Jack Knowles, etc.
So we started doing this face to face, live, but we're so far apart. And then we had a busy evaluation season. You're fairly in demand as far as adjudication. So congratulations, or I'm sorry, however you want to go with
You got
that.
that right.
But I had a pretty busy season since TABA is kind of the last time we talked. And so we're about 180 miles apart. I thought, look, let's just try this on a Zoom, see how it goes. So welcome to the experiment, everyone. Having said that, we're going to try and limit these things to about 20 minutes and see if we can't get some feedback and see if we can't get some, as Mike said, it was pay this forward a little bit. I never taught, but I am avid school music program. I just believe every student should have the opportunity to be successful. And I think that fine arts is a huge part of that. So, I realize that sounds kind of self-serving, but the truth is, band is what got me through a lot of teenage. And so I still have friends. I still have people to this day from the 70s and 80s, yikes, that I communicate with and consider close friends. So kind of where we are. We did get some questions when we initially asked for it. And I want to apologize to those people that we never got to those. But in the effort of being timely, Mike, today I thought it would be a good idea, and I'm going to pretend like I'm a director, and I'm going to ask you this question. We're looking at what, about 6 weeks left in school?
Yes, sir.
And so I know a lot of people start doing the relief mechanism. There's a thing called senioritis where seniors realize it's almost over and they kind of check out or they kind of back off and they don't push all the way through to the end. And I'm not saying that this needs to be stressful or tense, but sometimes we just maybe need a plan or some thoughts or some ideas. And so I'm going to try to not talk very much, but I want to talk to you about, okay, evaluation's over, contest as we call it.
Hmm.
So what, we got a spring concert coming up. We got possibly solo state solo and ensemble contests that we're going to go to. Uh, Spring trips if it's a high school situation. So at the same time, I think we think of things as winding down, but would you say, and I'm going to let you go where you want to with this, but maybe we should look at it more as a how do I prepare myself for success for next year?
Hmm.
Or What do we do? What am I going to do this 6 weeks? I'll leave it there. What do I do as a band director, choir director, orchestra teacher with these last 6 weeks that's best for my kids, best for me, best for my program?
Well, I think the biggest issue is that this 6 weeks is so busy because it has so many things that happen once.
Okay.
You know, you have like, if you go to the state championship in football, you go 16 games. So it's like
Right.
rinse, lather, repeat, rinse, lather, repeat. You keep doing
Right.
it.
Right.
When you get to this part of the year, it's a lot of individual things. So I'd say first, it's stressful sometimes to make a list because it makes you think about it. But I
Right.
guarantee in the long run, if you do make some sort of list or plan, that you can make this less stressful. And I would preface this whole thing because there's a lot of stuff on this list. Make a separate list to the side that says, what are some of these things, or mark it on this list, that I have to do as a director? What are some things a band parent can do? What are some things a staff member can do? What are some things a student can do? So you're not having to do everything on this list. You just need to be kind of the CEO and make sure it happens on this list.
Okay. So I'm going to back up. You have a list.
Yes.
Okay. So it's not like they have to reinvent the wheel.
No, we're going to post this. Tell them where.
Cool. Okay, cool. Well, we'll let Rick's the man in the chair, and I'm sure he'll put pertinent information on the screen as it goes. I assume it'll be on our
Okay.
website somewhere. So
Right.
intomusic.com. And real quick, I'm going to throw this in, Mike, before we go any farther. We've got some great friends that have a website community called Band Directors Talk Shop. Man, listen to me trying to talk.
Yeah. Talk shop.
banddirectorstalkshop.com. And so they've got a lot of blog kind of stuff, and they've got some links that reference a lot of these same things. And we'll put that link up there for them. We really appreciate them. If you haven't checked them out, you should. So, the amazing thing about what we do, Mike, is really, I don't know that anybody gets all the credit anymore. Somebody I respect a lot said, "Hey, steal anything you want
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
it makes you better." And so that's kind of the thought process I'm having with a list that you have that's being compiled, probably not just from one person,
Oh, it's 30 years.
but as people pass it down, that knowledge to each other. And we're going to post this on our website. We'll put a link in the comments below this video. Um, and again, uh, I just think it's important to realize sometimes, maybe this is just my personality, I get overwhelmed when I start thinking about how much there is to think about.
Yes.
And so quit that. Listen to what Mike has to say. We're going to give you the 30,000-foot flyover today, but we're going to post this list, and we just want you to be successful. So I'll shut up. Where would you start, Mike? What would you do?
Tell you the biggest thing towards the end of the year for me was always getting return to inventory and assess repair needs. What needs to be repaired? Clear cases of personal belongings. So we take all the school equipment, of course, line it up, take inventory. And again, like I said prior, I don't know if it'll come out in the edits or not, but make sure that you have multiple people helping you with this. For me, I had equipment quartermasters, and those four boys or girls would do that, and they took great pride in what they did. So
Well,
they'd
it's a
clean
cool
out.
name. I'm the
Yeah, yeah.
quartermaster.
Yeah, they're the quartermasters. They take care of all the equipment. And so they would go through and take care of all of that, take old sandwiches and cookies and things out of how it goes. Every band hall's the same. And they'd get all that ready. They'd line it all up, and then they would check off the inventory. I was an old clipboard guy. We tried to go the charms kind of method for a while. That didn't work for us. It was early in the game. So just a clipboard, and they just check off if it's here. Plus, those students were more persistent and at getting the equipment back from the other kids because
Oh,
they had
yeah.
more time on their hands and they took it as their job.
Right. And I think a lot of successful teams or organizations are peer led.
Yes.
That if the more ownership the students have in that kind of stuff, the more efficient it actually winds up coming if they've got good direction. Yes, no?
Yes. And that's going to be one of our content things later as a podcast is how to utilize your students to their full potential,
Cool.
not just musically, but logistically.
Jump back real quick. Obviously, I'm more familiar with the repair side of your inventory. Do you
Mhm.
triage those things as you set them out? I mean, do you teach them that, hey, this obviously has some issues, but how do they look for, do they go through all the valves, all the slides? What kind of
They
process
do.
is that real quick?
They do. I try to make sure I get a mixture of different brass woodwind players in that particular committee. And they don't necessarily have to play on all the horns, but they kind of go through and figure out, what's sticking or if a slide is missing or whatever strangeness. And they just write it on a piece of paper and stick it in the case. And that way the repairman can have at least a start somewhere to
Okay.
look for things we've seen. And a big item I think that sometimes band directors miss is I always sent my my summer, fall stuff, like sousaphones, mellophones, and baritones. I sent those in January because that's a slow time for music shops. If there is a slow time, that would be one of the slow times, and they would get it done. The other thing I'd add to that is this is a real good hack. Make sure they send it back to you with no valve oil on it.
I agree
Yeah,
because
because a
it's
lot
just
of
going to
guys have.
evaporate and stick up. Yeah.
Yes, and that's saved us a ton because pretty much the same kids would check out the horns in the fall, and they would come up a week early and they would go through all the cases with me, and we would oil everything and they'd grease the slides, at the shop. But the
Right.
valves, man, it just gums up in that summer. So I would say try to do that if you can work it out with your financial people as far as billing and so forth.
And I'd throw one more at you. If you got people going to band camp, you need to asterisk, highlight, separate those, get those in ASAP
Yes.
because I know our shops just get overwhelmed with all of the school districts sending all of the instruments in, and it's easier for us and it would be happier for you if we have that stuff ahead of time, knowing that's a band camp instrument.
Yes.
So,
Yes. It's easier for
okay.
everybody.
So
Yeah, just
inventory,
Yeah, just inventory. Make sure, like a lot of programs use tuners and tuner mics. Make sure those are all taken up by the same kids and make sure we check them all. Make sure there's no shorts in the microphones. The microphones are really not repairable. So,
right?
so we just, I hate to say it, we'd have to throw them away. And we'll get a whole nother content about how to take care of those tuners, by the way. There's a lot of good band hacks to make sure we don't short them out. Band hall organization. Same thing with staff, myself, and students, and some band parents. Just making sure all the stuff is put away correctly in regards to the cleaning that's going to happen in your band hall. Okay. Get the library closed out, just make sure I don't know how many times I caught myself earlier in my career coming back in the fall and there's 30 concert pieces sitting on the table. And
Right.
because I just didn't have the energy to get to it, whatever. But man, get you a couple of kids that are real OCD and
Librarians.
call them librarians. That's right. And they love it. They have the power of the copy machine, so they'll take care of all that for you. You have to kind of oversee all of it, but utilize those around you. And I'm not talking a big 5A situation. This worked in 1A, worked in 2A, worked in 3A, worked in 4A, worked in 5A. I've been familiar with all five classifications, never did 6A. Okay.
Yeah.
And Wiley went 5A is when I retired, but it was basically a 5A band when I left. Okay. Maintenance on anything with wheels,
Okay. Explain that one.
any kind of marimba carts, vibe carts, sound carts, props, anything that has wheels, moving parts, or a motor.
We're
All
looking
that
for
needs
flats or
looking for flats, looking for things that are bent, looking for where kids have ridden on them. You and they bend things up on you a little bit. So just trying to repair all that stuff because if you get into that on August 1st, you're going to be you're going to be underwater. You've got so many things going on. You don't have time to do all that other stuff. Verify with transportation on checking your trailer. Almost every band has some sort of trailer nowadays, all the way up to 53-foot semis. But even if it's just a 10-foot trailer, get with your maintenance guy. That's a band director thing or a band parent. I used to have a band parent that helped with that. He was worked in Abilene as a worked in vehicles and trailers, and he would go up and he would just check to see if there was tire rot, if the tires need to be changed, check the axles, all the wiring, the electronics, things of that nature. Tags, is everything properly tagged? Those things, because that will haunt you relentlessly in the fall. If all of a sudden you have a tire blowout on the way to Midland,
right.
and you're trying to get to area marching or something like that, you can't avoid all those problems, but you can avoid some of them. If you try to get someone to help you do that in front. Um, Generator maintenance. A lot of guys use generators. I used a battery pack.
Right.
Whichever power source you use in your front ensemble, speaker systems on the field, make sure all that's checked out and then stored correctly, you know, where all the pieces are in the same box and the box is marked and everything's put there so you can easily get to them. Um,
And I would also
Also,
probably add to that, check your
okay,
cables. You got
yes,
it's the great time before you need it to look at your electric cord. Is it frayed? Is it split? You know how those things get cut up all the time.
oh yeah,
And all your quarter-inch cables and all your mic cables that you use in your front end. So just throwing that in
yeah,
there.
exactly. That's exactly right. And just make sure you already have duplicates for all your cables. I know school budget issues are a problem. I think half our school ISDs are reporting a budget cut this year, you know, as far as in the state of Texas.
Right.
But as much as you possibly can, try to have a replacement cable for each one that you have in use in the
Redundancy,
fall.
redundancy. Yep.
Yeah, if you can afford it, go for it. Okay. A really important one. Guys and gals who are band directors tend to think that the maintenance guys are just going to come in and clean. Um, Send in your work orders, you know, ask for it, be respectful, take them donuts.
No doubt.
Yeah, take them kolaches, you know, and say, and the thing I had as an ace up my sleeve was they would allow me to leave my air conditioning on because of all of our summer stuff.
Okay.
And then we would do our keep our horns in there, so keep them nice.
Climate
But I used
control.
that
Yeah.
for my maintenance people. It was the only room in the entire high school that had air conditioning besides the principal's offices. So I told them, said, "Hey man, anytime y'all take a break, come on down here." I set up a table; they could eat lunch down there, etc. And so just make sure they know what needs to be done, whether it's light bulbs, roof leaks, tech repair, cleaning, things that you would like to see done. And if you really help those guys out with me at a more comfortable work environment, they will go 10 times what you ask.
Right. If you
They'll be
just show
scrubbing
them
vents.
appreciation, right.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Making sure you use the kids or myself or staff, clear out all the furniture for waxing or carpet cleaning, being specific on how equipment is or is not to be handled. We would mark everything like a marimba. Please do not put things on top of this marimba, you
Or
know,
my
things like
timpani,
that. And
right.
our timpani. And I would explain that to the maintenance guys respectfully. Said, "Hey, this is like $15,000 5 octave marimba." Said, "Please don't put a paint bucket on top of it," you know, and I would set up extra tables for them to use, you
Right.
know. So that really alleviates a bunch of stuff.
So, and listen, I know that a lot uh, of fine arts teachers are probably on a longer contract than others, but what's your goal to have all this stuff done? When are you trying to have this done by? Like I said, we're 6 weeks out. Are you trying to have it done before you leave for State Solo Ensemble or
I try to have it done by the week after state solo and ensemble. And then I always took off the entire month of June
right? Because
because I was an 11-month contract.
you're gonna have to have some of those instruments for State Solo Ensemble or a spring trip.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
listen, um, no eye roll at all. But spring trips are turning into summer trips by and large.
Yes.
I know that sometimes people don't even get back from their school trip until the middle of June. But I think that the key point there is the earlier you plan and get stuff ready, the more certain you will be to have that stuff back. This is subtle, but I'm going to say it anyway. I don't know that it's fair to expect somebody to do your entire inventory in 3 weeks and have it all back to you so you can get started by TBA or summer band. The earlier you get stuff taken care of, inventory wise,
Right.
the more certain the music store or your repair shop can be to get it back to you at the time that you want it. So,
Correct.
okay.
No doubt.
So, largely, here's the other thing that I would throw in there, and you tell me what you think about it. Don't just do it, document. Did I do this? I can't tell you how many times in my life did I did I do that? Is that taken care of? Or where are all my mellophones? Oh,
Yeah.
I sent those in. Document stuff.
Yeah.
Make sure that the music store that you work with documents and gives you copies of what they have, because it will alleviate panic in July of I don't know where my stuff is, and the music store's like, well, I'm sure it's here, but we got to go find it.
Yeah.
We have a saying at our store, we've never lost an instrument. We just got to go find it.
Yeah.
So, uh, documentation, sure. helps with that process. Documentation, like you said, with transportation. I was going to ask you, are you talking like transportation for the fall? Are you talking about beyond just your trailers and stuff? I mean, I kind of was looking at your list and I thought, are we talking about football games next year? Or,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
I
I
go
don't know
ahead
if
and
they do that.
I put in, it depends on your school, I suppose, but my school enjoyed having all of my requisitions for travel that I knew about the first of summer for that next fall. So if we're going to Canyon High School, then they wanted to know what time I was leaving, how many buses I would need, et cetera. And they just kind of kept that in their little file cabinet and they could just pull it out by the week and do it.
And I
And
would
then I,
also assume that the first person to request has priority in case somebody else says, well, I need buses that week. Well, Mr. Lunny submitted this in May.
there might be a little bit of that, but I know that athletics generally gets the priority.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
get it. I
but
get it.
it sure helps them plan.
Okay. Well, again, I'm going to try to be true to our word, and I think this is a good launch point. We are going to post the list that he's looking at, and I think it's what, 3 pages?
Yeah, it goes through general basics, then things for the students to send home with, and then things for your band boosters.
Cool.
Kind of get your band boosters ready.
And I would so encourage people to take advantage of somebody else's invention.
Yeah,
Quit trying to reinvent it for yourself.
exactly.
And I think you said this earlier. If not, we're going to say it now. Modify it.
Yeah.
Maybe not everything on that list is for you,
And I
but
don't know if
they're
it can be posted this way, but this is actually when I sent it to y'all, it was a Word document.
correct.
So they can go in and delete what they don't want to do. They can add what they want to do, et cetera. So I don't know how it'll be posted on the web page. It might have to be a PDF,
And I think
but
the
feel free to
point
modify
is
it.
we're not saying if you don't follow this list exactly like this. So I don't think anybody's trying to say you have to do exactly what we have on this list, but why not take advantage of a list and see what works for you?
Right.
Also, again, check out the other links. This is not something that's never been done before. I know it feels overwhelming if you've never done it before, but people have done it.
Yeah.
So take advantage of somebody else's knowledge.
And if you don't have a
Whew.
plan, you will be overwhelmed because
The
that kid
one
will
way to
come in, they need a
guarantee it,
mellophone, and you're going, I don't know where the mellophones are. I don't know where the mouthpieces are. I don't, and all of a sudden you'll just be chasing your tail in circles. So you've got to have some sort of plan.
right? And this is the corniest, oldest in the book, but failure to plan on your part does not constitute an emergency on somebody else's part. You just didn't plan.
Yeah.
I hear it all the time. I've got an emergency. Is it? But
No doubt. You have to have a plan and a process, then you have to trust the process.
and you have to not be scared to ask Mike Lunny, what do I do? So we need to shut this down, Mike. I
Okay.
appreciate your time this morning.
You
But we
bet.
do, and listen, Rick is going to put up we have an email address for Ask Mike. If somebody does have a question, if they want to ask questions about what we talked about, send it to the email address that Rick's putting on the screen, and we'll try to get this going. I don't know if it'll be weekly, but it'll be much more regular than we have been. I appreciate your time, sir.
You bet. It's been a blast.
See you next time.
All right. See you later.